Hey, like, share, and subscribe. Oh my, oh my. Man arrested on kidnapping charge at Lutz home of WWE star Sonya Deville. Philip A. Thomas is accused of stalking the victim on social media. He was found inside the home with a knife, plastic zip ties, duct tape, and mace. So we're going to read this story of a guy who apparently tried to kidnap either Sonya Deville or tried to kidnap somebody who lives in Sonya Deville's house. Now, I looked at his Twitter thread before I do this video. Mostly Sonya Deville stuff. He retweets a lot of Sonya Deville material or anything where she's mentioned in. And he's also retweets some wrestling stuff, basic wrestling stuff, and he also retweets a lot of homosexual stuff. So he's very LGBT positive. He might even be gay. Let's see if this article mentions that. Let's see. Lutz, a South Carolina man, was arrested early Sunday for attempting to kidnap a Lutz homeowner he had never met but stalked on social media for years, the Hillsborough County Sheriff's Office said. Investigators did not identify the victim, but the home where the suspect was arrested is owned by Daria Baronato, 26, who performs for WWE under the name Sonya Deville and stars on the E! Cable channel reality TV series Total Divas. Philip A. Thomas II, 24, began planning the abduction 8 months ago, according to the sheriff's office. There's a big SummerSlam advertisement right in the middle of this article about somebody trying to kidnap somebody. That's very McMahon. I know that Vince had nothing to do with that, but that's super McMahon-ish. Like, that's a hell of a advertisement to put in the middle of the and it's for the Sonya Deville, Mandy Rose hair versus hair match too. Oh my goodness. Thomas parked his car around midnight at Idlewild Church off Dale Mabry Highway and Van Dyke Road in Lutz and walked to a home on Pine Hammock Boulevard in the Promenade at Lake Park Subdivision, the sheriff's office said in a news release. Thomas cut a hole in the patio screen and remained on the patio 3 to 4 hours while watching and listening through the windows. What? I need to read that again. Thomas cut a hole in the patio screen and remained on the patio 3 to 4 hours while watching and listening through the windows. This guy. What the fuck? What the entire fuck? At 2:34 a.m., after the homeowner had gone to bed, Thomas entered the home through a glass sliding door, activating the alarm. The homeowner looked out a window, spotted Thomas on the property, and fled with a guest in a car. The homeowner called 911. Thomas was still in the house when the deputies arrived. He was carrying a knife, plastic zip ties, duct tape, mace, and other items and told deputies he was planning to take the homeowner hostage. Thomas, listed on a jail booking sheet as an Applebee's crew member, has been charged with aggravated stalking, armed burglary of a dwelling, attempted armed kidnapping, and criminal mischief. He was being held without bail. Our deputies are unveiling the suspect's disturbing obsession with this homeowner, who he had never met but stalked on social media for years, Sheriff Chad Cronister said in the news release. It's frightening to think of all the ways this incident could have played out had the home alarm not gone off and alerted the homeowner of an intruder. Anyone with information about the case is asked to call the Hillsborough County Sheriff's Office. I'm not going to read that number. On Twitter, an account in Thomas's name, I'm not going to read that either, contains mainly messages about Sonya Deville's latest activities, true that, including retweets from her account Saturday about upcoming WWE events, true of that. He defended Deville to online critics and wrote her encouraging messages on Twitter. That is also true. On July 30th, he responded to one of Deville's tweets about her appearance at the GLAAD Media Awards, a nonprofit founded by LGBTQ people in the media. I'm so proud of you, Daria. You're an inspiration to me, his tweet said. But on August the 8th, the writer appeared distressed when he reached out to a psychiatrist who had tweeted, "You are perfect. But what if others think I'm not, and I have no self-confidence or self-worth?" The writer responded. "I'm asking for your advice because I need a second opinion on something that could determine what happens next in my life." And that's the end of the article. Wow. They didn't mention at all that, he was also retweeting a lot of mental health stuff. I'm going to try to go, I'm going to take it a step further because he's also retweeting a lot of gay mental health material. He follows also this whatever this is called, It Gets Better. It Gets Better is our mission is to uplift, empower, and connect LGBTQ youth around the globe. So he retweets a lot of this stuff too. A lot of stuff about drag queens, a lot of stuff about homosexuals and homosexuality in general. So he was not just obsessed with Sonya Deville; he's also obsessed with gays, and which is yes, because he retweeted something about housing, LGBTQ2 housing. It's just, it was a lot of gay stuff. Now he follows some guy called the LGBTQ Shrink, at Dr. Ron Holt, a psychiatrist who is passionate about spreading awareness and support for the LGBTQ community, ending bullying, and advocating for suicide prevention. So this guy apparently must have been, maybe he's gay or maybe he's struggling with his sexuality. And he decided, now the article was real bizarre, right? Because they said he would not name the victim. Yet they kept saying the homeowner. And yet they also said that he followed Sonya Deville and that Sonya Deville was the homeowner. So apparently there must have been somebody else in the house maybe. And maybe there was somebody else in the house and they didn't want that person getting involved. But his timeline is a lot of HuffPost, Queer Voices, It Gets Better, LGBT news, a lot of different gay things about trans people and drag races and stuff like that. And then the occasional wrestling retweet, like a happy birthday or something like that. So this guy's off his rocker. And he's going to kidnap somebody. He had that intention. I'm not going to keep going through his timeline. But people are going through his timeline and responding and saying stuff to him, People are calling him a sicko and a psycho and all that stuff, which is pretty obvious. That this comes from Billboard. This is about stan culture. So this Billboard is looking at, the Eminem song Stan, where the phenomenon supposedly comes from. And what's the psychology behind the stand? So let's go through. Let's read this a little bit while we're on the subject. M's lyrics certainly capture the over-the-top behavior some supporters will develop when it comes to their favorite stars, which has helped to identify the difference between the average fan and stans throughout time. Dr. Lynn E. McCutcheon, psychologist, author, and founder of the North American Journal of Psychology, who has conducted research regarding celebrity worship, suggests there is likely an emotional component that is attributed to being a stan. However, it's been difficult to pinpoint the likeliest trigger for taking fans to the point of the rapper's titular admirer. We looked at issues like loneliness, and we tried to determine if lonely people are more susceptible to moving on to the higher or more obsessive levels of fandom. He tells Billboard of his research on the matter. In 2002, he helped to develop and propose the Celebrity Attitude Scale, which divides levels of fandom into three groups: entertainment, social, or the casual fan; borderline pathological, where the fan learns likes and dislikes, habits, and more of the celebrity; and an intense pathological, obsessed with learning every detail of the celebrity's life. We found a small correlation that was borderline strategically significant. So I think loneliness plays some small role in it, he continues. Also, there is the inability to relate on a personal level with real persons as opposed to the fantasy and celebrities has attributed to stan behavior. Conversely, Gail S. Stever, PhD, Associate Professor of Developmental Psychology for Empire State College, suggests that quote-unquote committed fans are completely capable of living normal, everyday lives, a conclusion made in her 2011 article titled Celebrity Worship, Critiquing a Construct for the Journal of Applied Social Psychology. I don't doubt that obsessive fans exist out there, but the song Stan sounds more like a case of extreme celebrity worship than of fandom. And those are two distinct and completely different things, she tells Billboard via email. While standing is not unique to the last 2 decades, the internet and social media websites have opened up accessible platforms for fan groups to communicate with each other and their favorite musical artists. In her article, Dr. Stever noted that celebrities have created a more personal connection with their fans that wasn't as possible before the advent of the internet. Things like Twitter, MySpace, Facebook, and blogs or video blogs are all being used now by celebrities to create that intimate day-to-day connection with fans, she explains. This is a fact. Nicki Minaj and Mariah Carey are two of the many star artists who have taken to social media to interact, retweet, and share aspects of their lives with their devoted fan bases, the Barbs and the Lambs. And, the Bayhive, which is not mentioned here, with the Bayhive is the most obsessive and destructive and most full of shit fandom in the history of the world. And you can also tell that this also happens a lot with anime and manga. You have the anime and manga communities where our people are absolutely obsessive about certain aspects of it, and it's really tough. But let's continue to read this. I think most of the people in these fan clubs are just normal people who admire a particular person and find fandom a social outlet. Dr. McCutcheon says, if I greatly admired LeBron James and I sought out some friends who also admired him, that would give us something to talk about and something that we could agree upon. It greases the social wheels in a way. Okay? While it's not usually likely that fandoms will hurt themselves or the artists they idolize, like in Stan, protecting the reputations of their faves online can result in some truly harmful behavior. So they go into this story about some YouTuber getting into it with some other people. And of course, yes, they missing the Bayhive here. We'll skip over that. We live in a society that leads by influence, he notes. There are a lot of people who don't think for themselves and will latch onto someone to follow with social media. We have easier access to celebrities, but the social distance enables the cyberbullying of both the artist and those who are not fans. It becomes a mob mentality. There have been cases in the past showcasing just how dangerous stan culture could potentially be. From threatening the lives of others to inflicting self-harm to stalking, there are numerous examples of these extremes in action. And of course, there have been particularly infamous cases of fans murdering their musical artists they claim to strongly admire or strongly dislike, such as Mark David Chapman with John Lennon in 1980, Yolanda Saldívar with Selena Quintanilla in 1995, and Kevin James Loibly with Christina Grimmie in 2016. The bulk of our research has found that these people, perhaps not surprisingly, that they move on to the problematic levels of obsession, might be tempted to do something illegal to get the person's attention. Dr. McCutcheon suggests celebrities discover after that this is part of the baggage that comes with fame. The obsessive fan, the one who stalks or does things that are unwanted. So, let's continue. Let's continue. I'm skipping through the article. That's why I'm stuttering so much. There is a false narrative that celebrities and artists belong to us, Allen says. People feel entitled to their presence. If someone we stand doesn't smile, wave, or acknowledge us, we immediately turn against them. It's very much a selfish ideology. There is an internal struggle within the artists because they recognize that for a lot of people, they do provide a sense of hope and influence. However, the lines can become very blurred. Okay? So this is a very long article on the term stan, but I think we've gotten enough out of this. I'll post this in the description for people who want to see it. But let's get back to the video. I think there is something to be said about people with excessive fetish and celebrity worship, as they called it. But I also think there's something to be said about the amount of access that these people have. Like, it's easy to just say, oh, stan culture needs to go away. It's like most people are using the word stan kind of ironically. They're not really stans. They're not really going to show up at somebody's house unannounced. They're not going to show up at somebody's workplace unannounced, like that crazy dude who keeps showing up at the PC saying that he's in love with Lita or all of the other various female wrestlers in the company. Those guys are on the extreme. So I think we need to take those, like when you look at a section of society, take the extremes out and just look at the average Joes. And the average Joe is just a lonely, sad motherfucker who usually doesn't have anyone else. And he may just have too much access to the person that he's obsessing over. But in the wrestling business, and I would imagine to some degree in music and movies and stuff like that, but in the wrestling business, because that's what we're talking about here, we talk about wrestling, there is a lot of power in giving people access to you so that you can sell gimmicks. So there's women who, especially women, female wrestlers, they love being able to sell their gimmicks. Jordan Grace was talking about selling her ring gear, stuff that she just wore in the ring. She will sell it, and it was, and people would say something about it, and she would just say, "Oh, it's just memorabilia." And I say, "You're selling ring gear that you just took off. It's sweaty. You know what you're doing. Like, come on, man. Like, we know what's going on. Psychologically, we know that you're trying to, it's basically the same thing as selling your panties, right? It's the same concept is that people have fetish, and she also does fetish videos, by the way. And all these women do like OnlyFans. Like they have all the Twitch accounts where they show their boobs and stuff. Like sometimes they entice these guys with sexuality. And then it becomes obsessive and they get scared. Right. And it's like, I get it. I understand it. I'm not one of those people who are going to say, well, she led him on or anything like that. That's kind of crazy. Alexa Bliss puts out this thing, says cameo for $400. Some guy uses it to ask her out on a date. That's absolutely stupid. It's the stupidest shit in the world. But I've also seen her answer weird questions about, like, when people ask her about her boyfriends or people ask her about her dog or people ask her about her pig or whatever the fuck kind of pet she has. People from fan accounts would ask her about those things and she would answer them. You know, it's like she gives people all this access to her and all this access to her life. It's kind of should be not much of a surprise that people feel like they know you or feel like they're intimate with you in some way because they're a supporter of yours, especially if they're a longtime supporter. And now they kind of want to take it to the next level. They want to meet you. And when they do get to meet you, they're weird in person. That's where you get those weird pictures like that guy with that picture of Becky Lynch where he got his arms around her. That shit's fucking weird, man. It's fucking weird. These people are weird. And to be quite honest, I'm struggling because I don't want to stigmatize them because I understand it, right? Like I see, you know, in the documentary, the Vice documentary, the wrestlers about Stardom, where you have the male wrestling fan, because almost all of their fans are male, but there are a subsection of those guys who go overboard. There's the guys who buy the merchandise and buy the gimmicks and they buy the pictures and the photos and stuff like that. That's what they want. That's what they make that stuff for you to buy it. But then there's the guys who bring them teddy bears, the guys who bring them chocolates, the guys who bring them flowers, the guys who want that awkward hug. Those guys are the ones we need to be paying attention to, right? That's the stuff that I don't like, you know, because, and Stardom is different because there's a lot of underage girls that work for Stardom. So that's completely different. But WWE also gives you a lot of access to these female wrestlers, you know, through access and stuff like that. You know, the WrestleMania experience, the SummerSlam experience, the big events. You can go and meet them and shake hands with them and take pictures and stuff like that. And it's not always smooth. Doesn't always go right. So the question is, you know, yes, we can see that, but what do we do? And also, before we even get too far with that, yes, it's also in the other way too. There are a lot of, you know, obsessive female fans over the male wrestlers. I've seen so much footage of women doing strange things to male wrestlers. Like I saw a picture of a woman trying to lick Randy Orton's chest. Now that I've started watching World Class, there's an innumerable number of women who have snatched on Kerry and Kevin Von Erich's neck, trying to kiss them in the mouth or kiss them in the face. There's a lot of that stuff. There was a lot of stuff in Mid-South too, where, you know, the Fantastics on the Rock and Roll Express would walk around the crowd and the women would just grab onto them and touch them and all that shit. You know, that stuff has been going on for a long, long time. It's not new. It didn't start with the Eminem song. That just put a label on it. But it's been going on for a long, long, long time. And we do need to sort of create that separation between artist and fan. But I don't know how you do that in today's culture, because now people are who are too disassociated. They're not going to support you financially. If they feel like you're on the outs. I mean, that's not entirely true, because you do have Beyonce, but Beyonce very curates her brand. As far as she will have pictures that she don't like taken down. Like she curates her brand very, very tightly. And other people don't have that option. Somebody gets a picture or something and it's spread all over the place. But that's neither here nor there. The result is that there needs to be a demarcation between the artist and the fan. There needs to be a hard line and obviously that hard line is, don't show up to my place of employment. Don't show up to my fucking house. Don't run up on me at an airport. Don't approach me in the gym. Randy Orton had that problem with people approaching him in airports and gyms. And people said he was an asshole because he went off on a guy who approached him in the gym. That type of stuff, people need to get it. Like, keep your fucking boundaries. The boundaries need to be healthy as hell. If you and it goes back to the Dave Chappelle skit where he was eating lunch and some people approached him for an autograph. I wish I could remember it word for word, but he's like, "Could you please not call me a bitch in front of my kids?" Like, oh yeah, he said they were saying, "I'm Rick James, bitch," while he was like running up on him in restaurants and stuff like that. And he said, "Could you not call me a bitch in front of my kids?" But it does come with celebrity. It does come with celebrity, but it doesn't have to. And people are it's just become the call celeb now, where people are just gonna be outraged at fan culture, even though they're fans themselves. But we all have to look at the healthy line of, this is too much, this is going too far, and find that and stick with it. And but we also need the artists, because I just call wrestlers artists, because I'm just going to talk about musicians and movies and all that type of stuff. They need to pull back, as far as not giving people so much of a look into their lives, not answering personal questions about their love life, or they need to also not talk about that stuff. Not putting that type of shit online. Asking people who are talking about that stuff to take it down, even if you do know, even if it's true, take it down. And that includes wrestling journalists, man. They need to come up with information. They need to pick information that is not that's valuable, but that's not personal. Because when you put out personal information, that stuff gets out in the ether, and you can't control where it goes, who got it, and what they use it for. So you really need to be more judicious with the information that they put out there. They need to be more judicious with all the stuff that they put out there in general, period. So, like, some guy recently said something strange about Mustafa Ali's wife, where, Mustafa Ali was taking a picture with his daughter, and somebody said, "Where's your wife?" And then somebody responded, "His wife/slave," because she wears a hijab. So they said his wife was a slave, and she was taking the picture. And I was like, that's fucking offensive, dude. Like, that's like, why aren't we talking? That stuff is so over the top. Like, you don't need to talk to people like that. But that's when you have too much access when it comes to people's lives. They should. I get it. I get it that Mustafa Ali has shown a lot of patience online with people who have said ignorant shit to him about being a Muslim and stuff like that. But man, you need to pull back. You probably need to have a personal Twitter account that's not verified, that only your family members or something like that know about, or a personal Facebook account or something like that, so you could take your vacation pictures and not have to worry about that shit floating all over the place, and then random Elroys somewhere having something to say about it. You might need to protect your family this Twitter shit is serious. This Facebook shit is serious. It's only going to get more real, because again, they're going to have contact with you eventually. Like somebody tried to stab Martin Luther King, man. That's just kind of how it is. And to be a celebrity, it is, you could hire security, you can tighten security. It doesn't change that much, man. People will find a way if they really want to, and singular individuals will find a way, and that's unfortunate. But let me know what you guys think in the comment section below. Like, share, subscribe. Talk to you guys later.